Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Welcome, ladies. Thank you.
Hi, we're so happy to be here.
This is going to be an absolute disaster. Listeners, I am here with Megan Lautz, the Rescue RD. Say hello, Megan.
Hello.
Four-time guest now. This is your fourth
am I at
appearance.
4?
You're at 4. And Vanessa,
This
Frost.
is 4 as well.
4 as well for
Do
Vanessa.
we
not
get a
the favorite.
jacket?
A tiara.
Oh, tiara.
You guys are talking out of the side of the microphone
No,
already.
We get-
Okay. Megan,
Yes.
you are here. You've been here since Tuesday at my house.
Yes, I have.
Why are you here? Tell the listeners.
I am here to speak at the 2025 OSU Women Human Performance. I can't remember. It's tactical.
Women's Tactical
You named it.
Human Performance
Yes.
Summit.
Yes. And I'm the personality hire because everybody else has a PhD. And then there's Megan.
Yes. And listeners, I picked her up from the airport on Tuesday and she was not wearing the bacon suit. But yesterday when Vanessa arrived, Megan put on the bacon suit. And what happened, Vanessa?
And I failed at picking her up like Dirty Dancing, where, it didn't work out well. I cracked her back, though. It was a free chiropractic session.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
There is video evidence of that. I may be posting at a later time. Any other life updates? Olive is now almost a year old, Megan.
Yes, I have a 1-year-old baby. And I've just been doing workshops. I've been doing presentations. I've just been bebopping around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And we're recording the Thursday before Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to both of you.
Thanks.
All right. Any updates with you, Vanessa?
Oh, no, right now I'm working through some applications for a contracted new assistant, I guess. So that's, strength coach, an assistant strength coach. So that's, I guess, a new work update.
That's amazing.
Life update, not so much.
And you, since we interviewed last, you published your testosterone guide, correct?
Ooh, yes. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, since we did, I published a testosterone guide, essentially all of the questions, conversations, so many things that I've had with firefighters over the years of like, hey, what about firefighting affects my testosterone? What kind of training can help my testosterone? What kind of training might hurt my testosterone? So on and so forth. What kind of recovery methods are either like helpful or hurtful or completely neutral? So all of those conversations have made their way into written print now in my testosterone guide. And what I think what's best about it is there at the end, there's a checklist where it's like, cool, I have all this information. I don't know where to start. And there's a checklist of like, cool, are you starting here with your training? Are we working out 4 times a week? No, I honestly don't care about anything else. We get to that point. And then same thing with like, we talk about nutrition, we talk about sleep and so on and so forth of like, hey, here are the step-by-step processes to where I'm going to focus on this one thing. Awesome. Now I'm going to focus on this next thing. And also, last thing is some things to think about and some considerations before TRT. So a lot of conversations that I have with some relatively young firefighters. I'm talking about firefighters in their 20s, barely into their 30s, thinking about getting or already having gotten on TRT, which is not a bad thing. And I think I do a good job of not demonizing it, but people are entering it uneducated in the sense that like I don't think many providers are entirely upfront about, hey, if you're on this for more than 6 months, you're likely on it for life. Hey, or do you care about your testes shrinking? Some people do, some people don't.
I mean, who cares?
Who cares? But some people, like, that was something that somebody brought up to me, like, nobody told me this, and now I've been on it for years, and I wish I knew that then. So yeah, I think the best compliment that I've gotten on it is somebody who I had him read it over because kind of my target demographic and that he had been on TRT for many years. And he's like, I wish I had this before I made my decision. And maybe I would have just, not to say I would have entirely changed my decision, but I at least would have tried other things prior to where I am now. Cause now I'm dealing with some things that I wish I wouldn't be, and also didn't know I was going to have to deal with.
Mm. And if I'm not mistaken, that can be purchased on your website.
Correct.
All right,
Yeah.
so we'll put the
Mhm.
website in the show notes. Hand that Megan over to microphone, whatever.
Hand me over.
Hand Megan over. Megan, I want you to talk a little bit about the trip that the three of us are taking in August.
Mhm.
Yeah, talk about that service.
Yeah, so I this year have been really promoting my workshop. So I have a Fueling Fire workshop that's completely nutrition driven, but now I've brought Vanessa and Annette in to kind of round out the wellness piece. So we are presenting to Grapevine Fire's Fire and Police, actually, peer fitness trainers. We're talking about low back pain, injury prevention, sleep, Mediterranean diet to reduce inflammation and improve sleep. So this is geared specifically towards peer fitness trainers. It is NSCA approved for up to 0.6 CEUs. So we'll be down in Texas in August.
And can any old person bring us in to do this workshop? How would they do
Yes.
that?
Yeah, so they would. So if you go to Rescue RD workshops, I have Fueling LEOs and Fueling Fire. I kind of combine it if it's both first responders, like a mixed group. And yeah, you can get on a call with me. We'll book it. We'll schedule it. We do wrap. We're going to do a wrap demo, like buffalo chicken wraps, the Reese's smoothie, hands-on stuff, classroom stuff, really practical, tactical, firefighter and police specific information.
And I think the best part about this is that Megan did a really good needs analysis with the agency, and then we figured out what were the best topics to cover their needs. So
Yes.
you don't necessarily need to have the same topics as Grapevine. So, all right, Rescue RD website link is in the show notes. Vanessa's website link is in the show notes. And now we are relying on some listener questions. And these are from my friend Paul, who is always so good with questions. We're going to start this with you and Vanessa. We're going to start with you, Megan, and Vanessa may have something to add. But Paul says, recently I had a newer firefighter run out of energy very quickly. He damn near passed out, almost fell out during a crew workout. And it was discovered that the firefighter was fasting from sunrise to sunset for Ramadan. Trying to follow the rules, this also includes fluid intake. While we cannot force the firefighter to eat and drink during the fast, the firefighter's crew are very supportive of their religious choices. What food should the firefighter consider eating before starting the fast? And what kind of crew meals might be the most beneficial to fuel this firefighter once his fasting is done for the day?
Yeah, so it's really tricky with Ramadan, and I need to look into it a little bit further. I mean, we've had recruits, following Ramadan during, the middle of June, and it's super hot, and we're really concerned about them in those situations. It's just as challenging on the line, of course. So we're mostly looking at you may have to wake up a little bit earlier, right? And usually people coming into work, they're up before sunup anyway, to make sure that you're getting plenty of carbs. I would be trying to get like 1,000-calorie meal in if possible. And if you can, maybe like a smoothie, because the smoothie is going to provide some fluid there as well. So a lot of people don't realize, because most people think, smoothie's food. It might be liquid, but it's not contributing necessarily to hydration status when it absolutely is. I'd probably right before sunup top off with an applesauce pouch too, or something, or a full sugar Gatorade, something like that to really get the carbs in, especially if you're going to be working out right away. And then like some protein as well to have some staying power. And then in the evening, I wouldn't probably go super high fiber. I mean, Ramadan's not terribly long. Usually I do want to see 25 to 38 grams of fiber per day for my first responders. But that can keep people a little too full sometimes. So really focusing on trying to get, as much protein as comfortable, and then getting the carbs in to prevent any fallout the next day as well.
Vanessa, anything to add?
Yeah, I do want to say something to keep in mind as well is I know they were doing a crew workout. And so I'm going to, did it say crew training or crew workout? I want to say it
crew
said workout.
It looked like.
Okay, and so that's something to keep in mind as well. It's different when we're talking about, hey, we had some fire training to do, and there's absolutely no way around that. But when we're talking about crew workouts, so many adjustments can be made to that. If this person isn't going to be able to be fueling throughout the day as they normally would, then their workouts don't get to look like they normally would either. Because especially when we're talking about, hey, I'm being on shift, this person about near passed out. And then let's say that, hey, you actually need to run a box alarm after that. Like there is no recovery between those two because there's no building blocks to kind of give them some more energy. And so this might be a time where, hey, if I'm going to do more aggressive workouts, those have to wait till sundown after I've fueled some. And if I am working out during the day, those are going to be a lot lower in intensity. Maybe I'm talking about doing some, and since I'm not hydrating a ton, I don't want to be sweating a ton. Maybe we're talking about this is our time for mobility work, or even just some walking, which, yeah, I realize that's not everybody's favorite workout. But when we're talking about I need to be safe and prepared to respond during the day, I can't do that after damn near passing out during a workout and I still have 12 hours of a shift to go.
For sure. Oh, you ladies are so smart. All right, I think this one is going to start again with Megan. We have a pre-diabetic or a type 2, a full-on type 2 diabetic firefighter. So this is an older firefighter that unfortunately made some poor wellness choices earlier in his career, or in their career, it says, that has had a significant lifestyle change with working out, eating smaller portions, and working to improve their sleep. Yes, I love that. While they are 1000% better, they are still in that pre-diabetic stage. So portion control being a very important part of solving this, what should they focus on with diet? Is it fiber? Is it food pairing? Is it the food order? Is it that type of minutia? And then we're going to flip it over to Vanessa to ask about exercises they should focus on in terms of strength and conditioning. So Megan first.
Yeah. So from the diet perspective, you're looking at fiber for sure. They've got to hit the fiber goal. So for men, it's 30 to 38 grams per day. For women, we're looking closer to 25 grams per day. And fiber can, number one, it can help blunt the blood glucose response. So it slows digestion, which means it slows blood glucose getting into the bloodstream and causing issues. The other thing fiber can do is bind to excess blood glucose in the bloodstream and eliminate it through your poop. Like silly putty is my.
You love to talk about
I
poop.
love. Well, the tech rescue guys won't let it go. Usually I get pictures.
Oh God, Megan.
There are worse things, but yeah. So it can help kind of eliminate through your poop. So fiber is going to be key there. The other thing is you can pair, so fat, protein, and fiber slow digestion. So if you can pair your carbs, every meal should go with protein and carbs. If you can choose a higher fiber carb, that's going to be ideal. So a fruit, a veggie, a whole grain, beans, oatmeal, all of those are beautiful for improving blood glucose. There is some evidence, though I believe it's kind of mixed on the food order. So I believe that's eating your protein, your veg, then your carb. If possible, you could try it, see if it improves blood glucose. But the other factor here is going to be the medication as well. So, and granted, you as a fellow firefighter can't necessarily listen to this or can make these recommendations. But things like Ozempic and Mounjaro and those other medications that are typically used for weight loss can be really magical for blood glucose management. And if the person's BMI is over 30. So these medications, the concern about them is that it basically gives you morning sickness, for lack of a better term, right? So it slows digestion so significantly that it can cause nausea. If you eat too much, you'll throw up. It can really impact the person's portion control and really eliminate the food noise that a lot of first responders have, right? You walk past the donut, you have to have a bite of the donut.
Only a fourth of the donut.
A quarter of the donut. If someone puts a little snack in front of you, you're going to pick at it. Like that's food noise. You're constantly thinking about food, and that can be a genetic component. It could be, a how you were brought up component. And Ozempic and Mounjaro and these other medications, the GLP-1s, can really, really make a life-changing difference. And I find that a lot of firefighters have a lot of shame around these medications, which is a whole nother tangent, but I think it's really worth having the conversation. Well, it's the easy way out. Let me tell you something. Anybody on those medications, it does not feel like the easy way out. It is injection. Number one, people don't like injections. Number two, it's literally like morning sickness. You're nauseous. You can't eat the large quantities anymore. And that can be an emotional component for a lot of first responders. It can also make you very fatigued because you're not getting enough food, right? The calorie restriction becomes very significant. So we're almost forcing people to eat protein, and forcing people to do weight training because we want to keep their muscle around. But the other side of that coin is their blood glucose is suddenly managed. They're finally losing weight, like significant amount of weight. And seeing drastic improvements. Now, the challenge of, I don't love this for firefighters running a ton of calls per day. They're at the busiest station in their county. This is for mid to day work to light station call loads, right? And this is not for, it's not for vanity weight loss. It's not, I want to lose 5 pounds for my cruise in the next 2 weeks, and then I want to come off the medication while I'm on my cruise and then get back on it. Like, that's not what this is for. It's a tool for someone who is going to potentially have some medical ramifications from prediabetes, from being overweight or overfat for several years, and they need to lose weight for medical reasons. I went on a tangent, but I don't.
No, I was
Questions
actually
about-
going to ask you about those in case you didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Let's pitch it over to Vanessa and talk about strength and conditioning with the same.
So same
Firefighter.
person, kind of glucose management is the idea that we're talking about. Muscle is your best friend. Okay. And so just based on like kind of what I heard in this person's story, typically they probably focused quite a bit on weight loss. So they probably, and they got into a good routine. It sounds like, when I encounter most people who are like, I am still struggling in some way, shape, or form, in this case, still with glucose management, I would make the guess that their progressive overload is not progressive enough. And what I mean by that is like their strength training is not aggressive enough, in that they've probably improved their kind of lean body mass significantly from potentially where they started. But if they are still having issues, muscle is your best friend when it comes to glucose management. We want all the glycogen stores, all of them, all of them, all of them. Now, don't hear this and be like, well, you're saying conditioning's not important. No, that's not what I'm saying, right? But when we were talking about actual glucose management, muscles are your best friend. And so they need to be strength training. They need to be strength training aggressively. And what I mean by that is like you should feel challenged. I'm not saying sore. Soreness is not the metric of progress, but we should feel challenged regularly by the end of a strength training session. And we should see those things. And by those things being like numbers within our strength training going up. And if they are not, I would say take a look at your program and make sure that it's appropriate.
I like to say that muscle is your best insurance policy for everything.
Absolutely.
For aging,
Yep.
for, being an old lady falling on the floor.
We're talking about injury.
Yep.
It is so hard to break strong people. And once
They're more useful too.
they're so useful and they're way harder to break. And then once if on the occasion that they get broken, they repair so much faster.
Yeah.
And so strength, especially in the world of firefighting, like, yes, please don't ignore that like conditioning is important. Your VO2 max is important, but strength training is your best insurance policy. Absolutely.
And I feel like the dietitian has something to add. Give her back the microphone. She has a
Yes,
tangent.
give it
I
back,
can tell.
Give it back. No, well, so the only thing I want to add here is typically when I have a firefighter who's pre-diabetic, or police officer or whoever, and they're already coming to me, their workout programs are non-existent. I'm not saying all of them, but they're non-existent. Like they've gotten to a point in their life where either there was a divorce or just, the exposure to trauma, an injury, many injuries, like something has gotten into the way of their workout programs that they have stopped entirely or they're barely getting anything in. So what I wanted to mention is something, the thought of a movement snack. Have you heard of
snacks.
movement
I love
snack? I love
snacks.
snacks. I'm a big fan of snacks. So a movement snack is, we have some pretty strong evidence to suggest that a 10 to 15 minute walk after meals can do really magical things for blood glucose, and even 10 air squats. And the reason I mentioned the 10 air squats is like it's kind of weird to pace around the station, right? I mean, you could do some housework, mop, all of that counts. But like running into the bathroom and doing 10 squats in the bathroom stall is like relatively reasonable. It's weird, but I'm also weird, so I have no problem with it. But the other side of the muscle snack, so when you think about it, actually moving your muscles, especially large muscles, it actually, I believe, mechanically moves the insulin receptor to the top of the cell. It scrunches it right on up there. And, the insulin sensitivity is a big factor with blood glucose being high. So it can actually pull blood glucose out of the bloodstream more effectively if you do a little bit of movement after meals.
Scrunching is a very scientific term. Vanessa.
I was just gonna say, I actually had God, when was this? This was probably a year ago or so, when I had a conversation with something. They're like, they're just not moving, essentially. And they're like, I need to do something. And I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna habit stack. And it was literally like, hey, I'm not gonna tell you to do push-ups because you're in the bathroom, but that's gross. But every time you go to the bathroom, you were doing 10 air squats. Like that was their training program. Was like, hey, this is where we're starting. And not to say this person said they're training regularly, but something to keep in mind for anybody when they're like, hey, doc told me that I'm pre-diabetic, I got to do something, and maybe you're not ready to commit to training regularly. Now we could always sit here and be like, well, we should shoot ourselves to death, but we got to start somewhere. And in addition to our training, this is a way for us to be mobile, or mobile, not in the sense of flexibility, but like move around more often. You can be somebody who trains in the gym and still be inactive, which I think is a potential mistake or like misconception that people have. They're like, oh, well, I exercise regularly, being like, I'm in the gym for an hour, 4 or 5 days a week. I'm active. Like, no, your step count's still sitting at 6,000. You are not considered active.
We had a little movement snack after dinner last night, and we went for a walk around my neighborhood. It was kind of embarrassing, actually. I had to keep shushing them.
Really enjoyable for me and Megan. Slightly embarrassing.
We walked through a house under construction. We made a lot of comments.
Didn't even get shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then these two were hopping down the middle of the road like frogs. It also have video of that, so that may be coming up at some point. All right, Vanessa, you're going to keep the microphone for this one. It is well, it's a dietitian question, but I feel like being married to a firefighter, you're going to have a real good answer for this.
Okay.
Again, this is from Paul. Firefighter has done a great job of maintaining fitness and nutrition, but the chicken and broccoli every day is leaving some hardcore gas that makes, quote, decomposing bodies smell like roses. For all that is holy, what else do they need to add to their diet to help combat this without discouraging them from the progress that they have already made?
It's funny that you say that being married to a firefighter may add perspective. What's funny is that like I'm the person who can eat the same meal every single day forever, and my husband is like the complete opposite. He's the family chef who like, no, we had that last week. We must make something entirely different from who knows what ingredient you can pull out of the cupboard kind of thing. But
Alejandro does chopped.
Yes. Yeah. Essentially like that is his dream. Be like, I need more than 30 minutes, but like chopped is my life. But I do understand in terms of like many people, firefighters especially, like it's all or nothing mindset. Like it's go hard or go home. And so if I'm improving my diet, I see it so often, and it's like, cool, I'm going to flip the switch entirely. And I know that chicken and broccoli is good for me. So I'm going to eat chicken and broccoli. Are you going to have anything else? Yes. More chicken and broccoli. All right. Cool. There, and obviously like Megan can add some nuance to this, but like variety is the spice of life within reason. Like, yes, eating the same thing regularly makes life simpler. But also let's add some variety within that. It doesn't always have to be chicken and broccoli. There's so many other ways to get fiber in than broccoli, and also don't just eat broccoli.
And there is data, though. It's interesting that people that eat the same things more often tend to eat healthier in general. So I do understand where he's coming from. I just could not chicken and broccoli myself that much.
I couldn't chicken and broccoli myself that much either. But yes, like it's because it's routine, right? In terms of like, if we look at whether it's nutrition, exercise, like doing something that is similar regularly is all just habitual and routine. And so we don't have to think about it, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But variety, it's not only the spice of life, but like your digestive system also enjoys some variety. And correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but like your microbiome is going to thrive off of variety. This is why like we have seasonal fruits and vegetables and want to eat the colors of the rainbows and so on and so forth. So like the like dying corpses smell farts, like that improves with variety. And not in like it gets better, not worse.
Megan, let me just quote this again. For all that is holy, what else do they need to add to their diet to help combat this without discouraging them from the progress they have made?
Well, if you want to keep it exactly the same, my understanding is you can add Beano prior to. So Beano is something you can buy from the grocery store, similar to lactate. It has some enzymes in it that can help break down the oligosaccharides that are really common in broccoli. I've also noticed, and this is going to be way too much information, is if I have like steamed broccoli from the freezer versus like a roasted broccoli, the steamed broccoli, we are blowing up the house for like days,
Megan.
which I'm okay with because I've noticed that. My husband has noticed that. I mean, I am okay with chemical warfare, in my household, especially if I'm the one causing it. Now, it's the other coin. I get it. I don't like it on the other end. But, so considering, yes, the variety piece is going to be key there. But some people struggle, especially if they don't eat it frequently enough, like this is a new thing, then having the Beano prior to beans, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables can provide, you have to do it before is my understanding, to get the enzyme where it needs to be to to help basically break those chains and digest the food. But like you said, like a lot of people just make this assumption. I've had a client came in a couple years ago who was like, well, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm only eating chicken and broccoli and I'm bored to death.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, duh. And I was like, why don't you just like add some like barbecue sauce? And he was like,
I can do that.
I can do that. Like, literally, he was literally like, I can do that. I was like, he's like, but what about the sugar? I'm like, bro, like it's 2 tablespoons. Like you're missing the forest for the trees here. So having so we have room in our diet for what's called discretionary calories, which I like to call BS calories. So usually that's roughly 200 calories. So that can be like your coffee creamer, that can be your barbecue sauce to add the variety. But like Vanessa said, also like you don't have to just do chicken. You can do chicken thighs some days. You can do flank steak another day. You can make tacos like that. Like that's almost all my recipes are just a variety of different things because we do get bored.
I just want to clarify. Did you say bro or did you say bruh? You said bro.
I think it was before bruh was a thing. This was, the Gen Zs have just brought in new technology in terms of terminology.
Also, quick reminder, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, any others. Asparagus, is that cruciferous?
I don't think that's cruciferous.
Okay. All right. I want I want Vanessa to answer this one first because I just want to hear what Vanessa has to say.
Okay. All right.
While attempting to meet firefighters where they are, how much bacon is too much bacon?
Really? You're gonna start with her?
Does the bacon to salad ratio cancel anything out?
I like that she asked me instead of the woman who owns the bacon costume. I feel like too much bacon entirely depends on what the rest of your day looks like.
Oh, that's very politically correct.
Like, hey, and here's the thing, like I'm a strength coach. We're all like meatheads, like to our cores. Like I have made the bacon lattice wrapped pork tenderloins. Like
you have?
Oh yeah. Strength coach days.
Bruh.
Yeah. Like back when I worked in collegiates, we would have strongman Fridays and then like after work go and like make these deliciousnesses. And so I get it. But here's the thing, you don't get to like, I'm not having that for dinner and then also having that for breakfast and then also having like a cheeseburger for lunch. Like if that's the thing, then that's the thing. But we try and, balance that out with some fruits and some veggies throughout the rest of our day kind of thing. So too much it's a very relative term.
That's so politically correct. All right, bacon lady.
I'm going to make it unpolitical. Well, maybe I'll make it more political. Who knows? So here's the thing. Listen. this is going to get me in trouble because firefighters hate when I talk about bacon. But like, so when it comes down to firefighter risk, right? We're talking about cancer risk reduction. That's one of the biggest concerns. And in Fairfax, I've been to 2 firefighter funerals related to cancer in the past 4 years. We've lost 3 more firefighters in the DC area just in the past few months related to cancer. And like, not to make it all dark and scary and gloomy, but there are a lot of firefighters who really want to reduce that risk, especially when you have a good friend, unfortunately passed from occupational related cancers. So when we're looking at what are the foods that significantly reduce the risk of cancer, one, it's alcohol, which, well,
You're not going to be
we're-
popular.
I'm not going to be popular for that one either. But 2, going back to the bacon, so the processed meats, bacon, sausage, deli meat, are at and smoked meats, cured meats. It doesn't matter if it's nitrate free, natural nitrates. It seems like there is a higher risk for cancer associated with those processed meats. It is considered a type 1 or class 1 carcinogen by IARC, which means we have strong evidence to suggest that these foods can cause cancer in humans and in animals. Now, I don't see a number affiliated with that, because the thing is, when I see these IARC classifications, it's the dose makes the poison, right? And they don't really have a dose yet. They seem to say like reduce it as much as possible. But I believe I've seen some evidence for about 16 grams of processed meat per day, which is roughly 2 slices of bacon, 2 links, and it doesn't matter if it's turkey or beef. So the other side here is beef jerky, which I actually recommend beef jerky as a go bag snack for a lot of my firefighters. But again, it falls into the processed meat category. So I just wanted to mention that because I have had people come to me either with cancer or coming out of, surviving cancer, or had a friend pass from cancer, and they are ready to lock it in because they're scared, quite frankly. But they're coming to me and they're like, I bought $400 alkaline water.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like the alkaline water, the hydrogen water, the what else did they buy? The veggie powders, the like all these like really expensive things that some random cancer influencer on the internet said it cured their cancer, which is super illegal, by the way, to state such things. And they're buying all these things, but they're not paying attention to the alcohol. They're not paying attention to the bacon and the sausage and the processed meats. And those are actually the things that are the concern. Artificial sweeteners is a whole nother conversation. That's actually way lower on the cancer risk reduction than most people realize. So I got on a tangent. You knew this was going to happen.
Megan hasn't had enough coffee. No, but I think that answers the question adequately. It's the devil's in the dosage. And as Vanessa said, the greater other risk that you have, I think that just needs to be considered. Did you have something to add,
Yeah,
Vanessa?
I think it's just like an important point to make, like nuance matters.
Yes.
When we're talking about any of this and really any of these questions, and that, okay, well, and here's the thing, like I'm same way. I want like black and white protocol. I want you to tell me like this is good or this is not, and like yes. And like, okay, so beef jerky falls into that. But okay, we also say that protein is important. And if I'm, super busy, I'm not keeping cold chicken and broccoli inside of my go bag. Like gross. Gross. And so what is the best option for me? It takes a little bit of education and a little bit of like, okay, thinking through those things. And I mean, your podcast is a great way to find that education. There are so many ways. We are all on the internet, the 3 of us. We have blogs, we have articles, we have other podcast episodes, so on and so forth. Like, listen to all the things and kind of tease out what's important to you. Maybe at this point right now, you're more concerned about protein intake. I'm not arguing that like, hey, bacon's the best form of protein, just to add nuance to the conversation of like, yeah, jerky falls into this category too. But if right now I need to up my protein intake and I have no other options to do that, cool, then maybe I need to pay attention to my alcohol consumption way more than somebody else.
Listeners, I introduced the ladies to Ratio yogurt this weekend. They're
So good.
loving it. Scott Forbes and I think single-handedly created a creatine shortage about 6 years ago. I'm also thinking I'm going to create a Ratio shortage. Available
Not
at
sponsored,
Target.
but she would
Not
like to be sponsored.
Ratio, if you're listening.
Ratio.
So good.
Megan, did you have something to add? Otherwise, the last one, I'm going to start with Vanessa.
No, not necessarily. Well, I guess to kind of, I guess to add to that, it's the same thing with alcohol. Like, as you guys know, I'm not cutting out alcohol, but at most I'm drinking 1 bottle of wine a week. I know many people who can do that in a day, which is impressive, but I would be on the floor.
Yes,
So,
you are a
lightweight. It's actually, I'm a cheap date. But it's just something like, just because it can increase potentially your cancer risk doesn't mean you have to cut it out entirely. I just mention it's probably hypothetically best to cut out processed meat and alcohol entirely if you are truly uncomfortable, and you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck for that than drinking 4 gallons of alkaline water.
Drop the mic. Don't, though. It's expensive.
Also, don't drink 4 gallons of any water in one sitting. Thanks.
All right, ladies. The last question, and then we'll wrap up. This is regarding the good routine, but tired firefighter. He's in a great routine with exercise, but then runs into a horrible work cycle with very poor rest on duty, and his days off, or the firefighter's days off, are trying to recover. Is there one kind of mode of exercise that you can think of that would be most beneficial when you don't have a lot of energy, but you want to stay on that dang routine?
So I want to acknowledge that staying on that dang routine is important. Well, and a break might also be warranted, but I understand, especially if like I've gotten into this good routine, implying that I wasn't in a good routine prior. So staying on routine is important. So taking the time for yourself to be like, hey, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go exercise, is important. I actually wrote one of my first blogs that I wrote was called The Shift Work Spiral. And we can link that probably in the show notes if people want to take a look at it. But it's this idea of like, hey, I'm doing all the things, but I still don't feel great. And so I feel like I'm constantly going down this spiral. The first thing you said was this person got into a good routine with working out. My question then becomes, what do your workouts look like? Because something that I see often, especially for people who are like, hey, I'm doing all the things, but I still don't feel great. There is too much intensity within their exercise program, in that it is go hard and then go home. Like, it's not one or the other. It's like we are doing we are going to do everything we can as fast as possible with as much weight as possible. Your nervous system matters. Load management affects your nervous system. How we train, how often we train, and at what intensity we train, like that all requires a ton from our nervous system. And so if we don't manage that, if we're like, hey, I just know that working out's important. I know I need to lift weights. I know I need to do conditioning. Cool. So then I'm going to do all of those at max capacity, and I'm going to follow this strength training program. I'm also going to follow this VO2 max improvement program that's specific for VO2 max and sprinting. And then I'm never taking like a day off. The number one thing is make sure that you have minimum 1, but I like to recommend 2 days off of training in your entire week, and preferably potentially not like those aren't shift days, because our nervous system is still kind of getting a crash from being on shift. And so those are major things. Now, if I want to maintain my, what did we call it, a routine? So what can I do instead? If I need to do training, can I do some low intensity, steady state aerobic work? Can I do zone 2 training? Cool. Can I also do some training that is catered towards improving my mobility? Now, I'm not saying sit here and stretch, right? Just for the sake of passive stretching, but maybe this is incorporating yoga, which is active. And also I get some down regulation of my nervous system, which is going to help so much. Like, we can't talk about people feeling like shit without talking about the nervous system, and that your jobs, being a firefighter, life in general, being on social media, on your phone, if you have children, like being a human being is affecting your nervous system in the way that like it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to do. We're constantly worried about output. And so the beautiful thing about yoga, breath work, low intensity things is that we are now, okay, we can be in a little bit more of a parasympathetic state. We can chill out a little bit more. And so can I incorporate that? Can I incorporate other mobility work that's like kind of chill, like I'm moving around, it feels good, like a really long extended warm up, if like that's how I like to describe it to the guys. So yeah, I feel like I tangented this time.
I'm going to pass it to Megan in a second, but the one thing I want to remind everybody of is, no, you can pass it to Megan. I'm going to talk and then Megan can talk. I want to remind everybody of is that the nervous system load isn't just what's going on now or yesterday. The nervous system remembers. And so there's impact from childhood, from that terrible call you ran 20 years ago. There's impact from world events. There's more to it than just the immediate load. So, Megs, from a dietetic fueling standpoint, can you address this question? Do you need me to repeat it?
No, so in these types of situations, usually your life's on fire, so it starts to become difficult to do things like meal prep and really pay attention to your food. So what I like to do in these cases is start considering outsourcing your meal prep. So meal prep companies, things like Factor, Mighty Meals, Territory, there's probably one local to you. And actually what we did in Fairfax is we actually called Mighty Meals and said, hey, would you be open to giving us a discount? They gave us a 25% discount connected to our fairfaxcounty.gov email. So that pulled the meals down to somewhere between $9 to $11 per meal, depending on what you chose. And a lot of people will be like, well, Megan, that's really expensive. Well, what are you doing? What's the alternative, right? Because a lot of people are then spending money in fast food, in Grubhub. Like if I order Grubhub for me and my husband on like a Saturday night, it's $50. Oh.
Well,
It's a lot of money. It's $50. So like, and that wasn't just the food, like $20 of that was in fees and tips and whatever. So that's literally 5 meals we could have had. Right. So, it's real. And a lot of these things too, is they're not always subscription. So Factor is subscription based. Mighty Meals, I can make one order and then be done for a couple weeks. Like I don't have to keep ordering it. So what I like to do, because since I had a baby and decided I wanted to focus on the business and work full time, it's difficult to do the meal prep. I don't have the energy to do it. I don't want to do it. I've had 4 pineapples die on my counter because I said I was going to cut them and then I didn't cut them.
Okay? Jill Joyce would be so disappointed.
I feel like Jill Joyce would understand. Because I made it attractive and available, but I didn't make it all the way available by cutting it. That was where I made the mistake. I'm sorry,
She's
Jill.
not mad. She's disappointed.
So with that, you kind of want to consider the whole picture. So what I do is I'll order Mighty Meals. Usually when I'm traveling, I'll order it for my husband because he's left unsupervised. And, and then I'll freeze a couple as well. So Mighty Meals comes fresh and it's delivered to the house. And I'll freeze a handful of them so that when I do have days like this, where like, what was I going to eat? What was the alternative? I was probably going to eat garbage or pick something up. And yes, I'm the dietitian. I know I'm supposed to do better, but things fall to the wayside. So you want to set yourself up to succeed. And if it's not meal prep, then consider like fast food. What are you getting from fast food 80% of the time when your life's on fire, right? Maybe you do end up getting a salad from Chick-fil-A and a small fry because balance, but instead of just saying screw it and doing whatever the hell you want. Scene.
Okay, I think that was a great answer. Did you guys think of anything else that we should discuss while we were doing this? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up because we got shit to do.
You want to talk about alcohol and artificial sweeteners?
Okay, say that again into the microphone.
Do you want to talk about alcohol and artificial sweeteners?
Yeah, do it.
Just because I mentioned it, and I feel like this is something I get a lot of questions about, especially when I go to California and they tell me I'm stupid. But when you, which they're not entirely wrong. So the artificial sweetener piece, when we talk about like, I have a lot of firefighters saying like, oh, well, I cut out Coke, or I feel so guilty for having this Coke Zero in the evening. And it's like one Coke Zero just for razzle dazzle in the day. And it's like, That's really not a problem. So the evidence for them, artificial sweeteners, sucralose, aspartame, I'm forgetting some off the top of my head, but in general, artificial sweeteners causing cancer, causing cardiac issues, or causing weight gain is actually negligible, or it actually helps with weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2023, the World Health Organization came out with a report saying that they were classifying aspartame as a carcinogen. What they failed to mention in many of these articles was that it was classified as a type 2B carcinogen, where we don't have strong evidence in humans or in animals that aspartame causes cancer in the dose recommended by the FDA per day. That dose is 15 cans of Diet Coke per day.
And we still don't have evidence for it causing cancer with 15 cans.
15 cans. So the other side of that too is then, I'm doing artificial sweeteners. That's going to cause issues. I must cut it out entirely. Or Drip Drop has sucralose in it, so it's super bad for me. No, Drip Drop has sucralose in it to make it sweeter so that you actually consume more of it to replace the electrolytes and the fluids that you lost. People aren't even getting close to the minimum dose to potentially cause cancer, which we don't even have strong evidence for. So you're majoring in the minors, right?
I hate that.
Yeah, exactly. You're majoring in the minors. You're obsessing over something that could actually give you benefit. You could see weight loss because you're adding something a little sweet at the end of the day. Actually, soda, it counts towards your hydration status. I had a friend who had hyperemesis, really, really sick when she was pregnant. And a nurse told her if she drank a Diet Coke, it would dehydrate her further. What?
Damn.
The way I almost went to the hospital with a stick. What are you, that doesn't even make sense. So, so artificial sweeteners were not terribly consumed unless they personally give you headaches or cause GI issues. And see my sugar alcohol tangent later. But then the alcohol piece, same thing. Alcohol is actually the thing you need to be focusing on if cancer risk reduction is a concern. Of course, it's easy for first responders to overdo it. In Maryland, it's about to be boat season, pool season. We're going to
White sandy beach season.
Yes. You know that Baltimore has many white sandy beaches and no potholes, or even only 350 murders a year. I'm trying to get Annette to move to Baltimore. It's not working. Anyway, so just keep in mind with the alcohol piece, that's a big thing. It does cause weight gain. It does, in excess, of course. It does cause weight gain. It does cause cardiovascular disease. It does cause cancer. And everybody just wants to not have the alcohol conversation because it's uncomfortable. But that is really the thing that most people could stand to cut back on.
So as we're talking about alcohol and things like that, made me think back to this last question of this person who was doing everything well and still felt like dog shit. And so we talked about the nervous system. We can't talk about feeling like dog shit without talking about sleep. And we can't talk about alcohol without talking about sleep. And that what I didn't hear from this thing was how this person was sleeping. And we know that a lot of people in the fire service struggle with sleep. Not like we could on the bare level look at like interrupted sleep through call volume. But even when we're talking about not being on shift, many firefighters have issues with some kind of, why can't I think of words right now? Sleep issue, we'll say disturbance in some way, shape, or form. I mean, they've even looked, when we look at studies of like looking at many firefighters like sleep apnea, if somebody on your crew has sleep apnea. Why? Because you've heard them pulling down ceiling tiles with their snoring, struggling to breathe. And they'll be like, yeah, I snore, but I don't have sleep apnea. It's like, yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to use a CPAP. So like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
And not just like it's not like, hey, I can go and just buy a general mouth guard, right? But there are mouth guards. It's like, okay, if you've worn a retainer growing up, put this in instead. Like go get a medical grade mouth guard that shifts your jaw forward a little bit. So that way now you don't feel like crap waking up in the morning. And so now all of my training has effect, so on and so forth. And so also that plays into role with sleep and alcohol, in that many people will be like, oh, it's my night off. I'm not going into shift tomorrow morning or whatever. I'm going to have a beer, which is totally fine. right? But if you're somebody who's struggling with sleep, you need to take a look at your alcohol consumption, because even just one drink has an effect on your ability to get restorative sleep. And so just something to keep in mind again here, it's like, it's all about nuance and what is my ultimate goal, in that if you're worried about sleep and feeling like dog shit, and if we're talking about like people feeling like dog shit, I don't know that we like can't not go into the testosterone conversation. Sleep is going to have a huge effect on that, and alcohol consumption has a huge effect on your sleep. It's all connected.
It's all connected. All right. I think those are really good answers. Megan, do you have any final thoughts?
No final thoughts to prevent further tangents.
Really smart. Vanessa?
I second.
Okay. Ladies, it's been super fun having you here live. We're gonna have to do this more often. I personally need to up my tolerance level for chaos. So this is helping.
You're welcome.
You're helping.
I'm helping.
All right, we're dropping the mic. It's been AZ, VFP, and Meskin.
Where the
Yesterday we had, what was it? Vanette and Anessa.
We did a photo shoot yesterday, and Megan called me Vanette, and then she called Vanessa Anessa. Okay, anyway, it's been AZ, VFP, and Megan Lautz, the rescue RD, and we are officially out.